So let's see. So let's see. So let's see. So let's see here. All right, let's begin. So we're going to be talking about today, the conversation today is about being, the gift of being unbothered. Unbothered. This is going to be very important for you in this journey of ascension. Doesn't matter if you're in a twin flame, twin ray. That's my cat you're seeing. Doesn't matter. You need to learn the art of not giving a fuck. Another way of saying unbothered. And why is that important? Well, because if you're allowing your need to be accepted to be the reason why you're swayed on people's opinions, on your behaviors, attitudes, and choices. Again, let me preface this though by saying, as long as you're not harming any sentient being, as long as you're harming no one, nothing, then you're really good to go. But, and that's the only time you should get advice or being called out on bullshit. Because you have to also understand that sometimes what we say, and I've stepped on dog shit, I've said things that probably hurt people. In my personal life, there's no doubt. In my public, whatever, what I do here, I'm sure I've hurt people in maybe purposely or not purposely. And so I'm always calling myself out, making sure that I'm in my integrity. But when you are on a platform of any kind, I don't care if it's 6 people listening to you or 10 or 100 or 12,000 or 165,000 or 250,000 or 1.5 million people, you have to actually understand, that what you're saying is going to impact people's thought, especially when people are at their weakest, most vulnerable, most fragile, and they're going through a dark night of the soul, or they've been trained by the way they were raised to listen to everyone else but themselves, to adhere and bend the knee to everyone else but themselves. And those types of people are some of our responsibilities as content creators, as spiritual, I don't want to say teachers, storytellers. I'll say it like that. Because even in storytelling, you can learn things from other people. I don't like certain taglines because then it puts you on a different level. Very few people are gurus. Very few. And maybe there's a handful of them. And I'm not kidding when I say a handful. Exactly. You're 5 fingers times 2. But a lot of people call themselves gurus. And I've never been, unfortunately, how do I put this? The most people who deserve the title guru are the most humble. Neither do they name themselves that term, that name, nor do they claim to be, nor do they actually overtly step up to become the teachers, shamans, gurus. They're very reticent. It's kind of fucked up, to be honest, because that's who we need. People that are gun shy at the idea of standing up and leading the herd of unconscious people, And yet, the irony is their humility is what makes them so incredible. And the people swaggering around calling themselves gurus. I can tell you a story. I'm going to tell you a story, actually. It's a story that my twin told me. Because he was very much in and out of temples for decades. Various temples. And my twin told me. Because he was very much in and out of temples for decades. Various temples. And my twin told me. because he was very much in and out of temples for decades, various temples. And was in Hawaii, and he was like a hustler and a drifter and a playboy. And he's all that shit. And he ended up in a place called Three Rivers, California, somewhere like that. And the spiritual world is a real weird world because there are people hustling money in different ways, selling, questionable things. Okay, let's put it that way. Anyway, so he was one of those guys, and he ended up in Three Rivers, California, and he had decided to call. He would talk very softly, and he decided to wear robes and long hair, and he would talk what he had learned from a particular temple. I'm not going to go into which one because it doesn't matter. And he had gathered around him devotees. I swear to God. And so one day, this dude somehow came into that place in California to do a deal. And he literally stumbled upon this guy who was being called guru and teacher and things of like that. And he knew the guy's background. It was actually fucking massively laughable. But when the guy saw, let's call this other dude Joe. When he saw Joe, he went, oh, fuck. You could see his whole body tensed up like, oh, fuck, my gig is up. Like it's over. Like he's going to expose me to all my devotees, my followers. He basically had a cult of over 100 people, maybe 200. I forgot. But the main thing, his body tightened. And and Joe decided to play along and just literally put his hands in namaste and bowed and said, oh, great guru, like that. And the guy's face was like, relaxing. So what I'm trying to say to you is that you really need to discern the truth of someone's integrity in the spiritual path, because a lot of people, it's fucked. I mean, I hate to say it but the reality is, if you think about it, it makes sense, because you've got Catholicism. We've seen the fuckery there. We've seen the fuckery in Muslim religion, in Jewish religion. We've seen it all in all kinds of Orthodox teachings, including Buddhism, honestly. Let's be honest, okay? But in other religions, whatever. And whenever you have a leader that's going to come off with a swaggering arrogance, you kind of like to step back and go, wait, hang on. I think maybe this is why we like Eckhart Tolle. Some of us really like Eckhart Tolle. For me personally, he's a neutral energy. It's a non-sexual energy. He's very androgynous in some aspects, to be honest. I was almost shocked that he married, to be honest. I mean, not that he can't have a cup of coffee and have sex. I'm not saying that, but you get my drift. And there's something where he's not trying to pose, okay, at all. He's not trying to personify a certain type of energy to make you feel like he's a guru, though he is, to be honest. And what's interesting is he'll never call himself a guru, right? This is a guy who truly meditates for hours per day. And so this unbothered energy that you need to embrace for yourself, for your own peace of mind, is the strength to move in the energy of becoming, what a lot of people say, your own guru. And your own guru works with the light beings, your heart chakra, your higher self, and gets those downloads and gets a lot of aha moments. So what's interesting is that as you share those, downloads, eventually you'll feel comfortable with a particular person that you connect with, and you'll share something, and you'll get confirmation that you were not alone, which confirms that your download was a pure, beautiful download. There's a lot of fear, when I look at, right now I'm reading A Dream by David Icke, and there's a lot of things that have been replicated about from his books, from his teachings, from his talks, actually, not teachings, talks, about the loosh and dropping your body and not going to the light and all of that stuff, which is created by the matrix to create the very thing that you don't want to experience, which is fear. And so when you dissect, like guys like David Icke's work, right, and his talks, you got to look at, and this is why if you experience things that are, how do I put it? I think the best way for me to do is to just tell you a story. So when I first did my LBL hypnotherapy session with my hypnotherapist before I got trained to do it myself, there's a protocol when you induct. And the induction is a childhood memory, being in your mother's womb, and then hopefully you go into a past life. Well, and I'm not tooting my own horn, I'm just telling you, okay? He said to me, because I skipped all that shit. I went directly to that crystalline astral realm immediately. Like boom, I was there. And he said, I knew you were an advanced soul. And of course he was saying it in a complimentary way, but what he really meant, and I'm just going to reframe it, what he meant to say was I was in complete surrender. I didn't need to be coached into going through these doorways because I trusted that I needed to go to the truth of the matter, and I didn't need all of these weird coddling, induction processes to get to where I needed to go. Does that make sense? In other words, I trusted my journey. And so instead of going through X, Y, and Z, I went directly to source. Does that make sense? Excuse me. And so it's how it happened. I've been fighting a cold, which is not really a cold. It won't commit. So long story short, death is very similar to that. Because in a sense, you want to when you drop your body, you need to completely surrender. And you'll go exactly where your frequency, heart chakra frequency aligns with. You will go to that source that aligns with your current frequency. So if you're in confusion and you're out of alignment, or if you are dogmatic in your system of belief systems, right? So for example, people who believe that they're going to heaven or hell, the light bringers and the light beings don't really get involved. They kind of let the person, the soul, go through that process. And eventually, when the soul starts realizing that the nature of reality, they're controlling it, and once they start surrendering, then these light beings come and guide them to where they're supposed to be, right? And that's something that I find to be the truth. So if you feel that you're going to be stuck in the matrix, first of all, you are, number one. Number two, this whole thing that's been talking about, that's been promoting the loosh, the flip, the going back into one incarnation after another is an absolute truth. It's actually what happened to us. But you have to also give yourself credit to realize that you were in a complete amnesia. You were jumping into one body after another, exactly like they've been saying. And part of the reason was because you were in deep amnesia. You were being lobotomized while you were in living experiences and the human experience. And then you go back out, you go into massive stripping of memory. You go back into these incarnations, which due to religion, I'm just going to say it, Orthodox teachings had you were massively, brilliantly brainwashed not to believe shit, not even to believe your downloads, not to believe anything at all. And so when you died, of course, you thought that was it. So the difference with with what's going to happen now, I mean, and it really is all up to you, because I can't do it for you, and you can't. No one else can do it for you. But the reason why it's all up to you is because once you surrender and relax, and this is something you have to learn how to do now, right? In terms of your meditations, in terms of your downloads, in terms of trusting what's coming to you at the highest level of good. At that point, you're not going to drop your body and be fucked over by the light. You know what I'm saying? And this looping of fear, I came to in a meditation, that is the matrix, making sure that you are afraid of the light now, you're afraid of love, you don't trust anything, you start panicking, And you create massive confusion that keeps you in a state of limbo, aka purgatory. So there's no need to panic. And that's why hypnotherapy, in a way, in my opinion, okay, hypnotherapy, doing plant medicines with a shaman, and I mean that with a shaman, will get you prepared to surrender. And that's going to be what will help you when it's almost practicing for the day you drop your body. And so you'll be able to understand what's going to happen with the D being activated, obviously. That's why there are people that go into altered states and see things before they drop their bodies. They start seeing things. They start reaching out to the ceiling. Because they're seeing the lights are coming in. Light beings are coming in. They're seeing their portals are opening because the DMT is being activated in some cases. In some cases, sadly, and this is something with the medical profession, they've given them so much shit, so much drugs that they're fucking having hallucinations. But hopefully at some point, the body's control is no longer going to subjugate the soul from seeing what it really needs to see and experience as it drops its body. And so this panic that I'm seeing, and I'm going to call it in the New Age community, has a lot to do with they don't know it, but they're actually promoting the Matrix loop. They are actually doing that. So that is a problem. Sorry about my throat. It's like I need to do probably some gargling with apple cider vinegar. I'll have to do that today. But so does that make sense? Does that resonate? Because that for me has been a big, ever since I heard about this, don't go to the light when you drop your body. And I saw the comments of absolute despair. I first saw that in 2023 on TikTok. And the absolute despair, what the fuck? I'm not even safe when I drop my body. And absolute despair. I first saw that in 2023 on TikTok. And the absolute despair, what the fuck? I'm not even safe when I drop my body. And safe when I drop my body. And system of fear that rippled across the New Age community. Many people questioning, well, what do I do? What do I do if I don't go to the light? Many people questioning, well, what do I do? What do I do if I don't go to the light? And it's not about going to the light. It's about allowing love to guide you in your heart. And when you say heart, you might think a physical form. I mean the essence of your loving light being that you are. And trusting that if you imbue light into love, into light, into love, into surrender, into unconditional trust, you will be, it's like a magnet to love. And you will end up exactly where you need to be, in a place of absolute love. And now they're even talking about even that is a matrix. And so at some point you have to ask yourself, what do I trust? Is love like that? Can it be manufactured? Unconditional love like that? And I personally don't believe it can. I think that love can be manufactured. We've seen human beings do it to each other. We've seen shysters and narcissists do that. It's called, they do it with, love bombing. But every client I've ever talked to, and I'm sure on soul levels, when you go into meditation, you come across and you feel like it, but then there's something that tastes metallic in it. There's a red flag, there's a metallic taste to it. It's not quite right. And when you have been hit by unconditional love, the first time that ever happens to you, through your meditations, through traveling through sacred medicine, plant medicine, through anything like that, hypnotherapy, whatever, right? I can tell you that it is pure. It's unfiltered. It's pure. It's undiluted. It's nectar. There's no, I'm not sure. There's none of that. Whereas anyone that's ever been in a relationship with anyone that was narcissistic or not right for them or whatever, there were massive red flags. There were massive green flags too. And there were massive red flags. And the massive green flags was to attract and pull you towards that situation, person, whatever. And the massive green, red flags were like, proceed with caution. And in some instances, when you connected with, and we're going to go right into something else now, when you connected to somebody who actually fucked you over, when you had the red flags going with the green flags and it was toggling back and forth, it was proceed with caution. It was, don't fall in love. Don't fucking give them everything you got. Like watch yourself. Watch how your body feels, how you feel, how you thrive. How do you look in the mirror? Again, I had a client text me today saying this guy's with what you would call a soul connection. He's married to someone else. She's his twin. And he looks like shit. Like absolute shit. It's been 3 years of that marriage, and he looks like he's 43 years old, thereabouts. And he looks like he's 53 years old. That's a sign that you're with the wrong person right off the bat. The only time you're going to look like shit is when you're in separation from your twin, you're grieving your twin, you got shit going on. But when you're in union with your twin, whether it's physical or by phone calls and letters and this and that and the other, you are going to look like $1 million. If you have a weight problem, you'll drop it. If you have skin problem, it will clear. If you have hair falling out, you will have an abundance of hair. Your eyes will shine. Do you know how many people I see on the streets whose eyes are dull? There's no shine to their eyes. And the shine to the eyes show a power in the soul. There's this light emanating, and it's so incredibly powerful that the eyes literally shimmer and glimmer and shine. The average person, if you look at them, they have dull eyes, dead eyes, dull eyes. And this guy's having, and I've talked about him before, he's having literally, he had to have an eye surgery, for Christ's sake. And still his eyes are fucked up. And you know what that means. Louise Hay talked about it in her book, You Can Heal Your Life. Any physical condition is an emotional, it's connected to emotional issues. And so in his case, it's so obvious. He doesn't want to see what's really going on. He doesn't want to see reality. And that's the problem. That's what's creating this, his eye problem. And if he continues, he could have a heart break, if you know what I'm saying, which could send him into ER, if you get what I'm saying. I have to speak it in code in some ways. But so being unbothered what people think, right? I remember this woman, she was a client of mine. She said, so my twin, because we did established it was her twin. I did a reading yesterday where I established another person who it was a twin. And anyway, this woman said, he's afraid because he's 34 years old and he's had 2 divorces. And he really feels like a failure and he doesn't want to make mistakes like that again. And you know the old saying, 3's a charm, but he had 2 divorces. And I said to her, that's really interesting that he's actually berating himself because very few men marry or want to. And it's not like from the lack of trying, like he is committed to commitment. And that's a win-win. The fact that he committed to the wrong women, that doesn't mean that they were bad women. They were just not, it was not a match for him. They're probably extraordinary women for other men, but not for him. They weren't for him. And, and I said, that's a win-win. So now let him know that it shows power to surrender to love, to commit to it, to the point of marriage, and to actually see it's not working, and to eventually say goodbye. That all of these steps are fantastic. It's a win. And she had never thought of it like that, because even she was doubtful, because again, she was being, and he was being judged by other people. And so this concept of being unbothered by what people say, it's like marry 3 times, 5 times. Fucking look at Liz Taylor, 7 fucking times. Who gives a shit? Who gives a shit? It shows commitment. It shows, it's not working anymore. But, we were married, we tried it was fun, and then it wasn't. and we couldn't overcome our personality difference, or we outgrew each other, or whatever. So the concept of unbothered is even going to college and saying, okay, I'm going to be a psychologist. And then you go through your classes and you're like, fuck, I hate psychology. I think it's shit. I want to be an architect or an anthropologist. And suddenly you turn and you change that. And then you realize, I don't know. I think that's not what I want to do. I think I want to be an attorney. And then you fall in love with that, but you've quit twice, right? And your parents see you quitting, and your friends, and they think you're a quitter instead of somebody trying shit out. It's interesting. If you bought a pair of shoes, if you went to a store to buy a pair of shoes, right? And you tried on the first pair, even if it was the wrong size, and you decided to buy them. And then you went home and you realized that they were one size too small and you were getting blisters and it was literally making your feet bleed and all that shit. Everyone would say that you're fucking stupid. You should have why didn't you try? It's a goddamn shoe store. Try every fucking pair until you get the right one. And yet, people will actually judge you from trying things and deciding in mid-stride, even before its completion, that it's not for you. And that boggles my mind, because why do you have to put something on that's too tight or too loose? And the only way you can find out whether or not it's a fit for you is to try it out. Try it out for 6 months, try it out for a year. And that goes with marriage, relationships, living together, and then realizing, shit, I thought I was in love. I guess I was in lust. I hate that word in love because it's actually not the right word. It's in lust. Okay? When you're in love with someone you love, it goes through seasons where you're no longer like famished to taste them. And then suddenly you fall in love with them again because it's the season of the summer and there's all this heat between each other. But you always love them. But in love is a component of sexual desire. So when people say in a marriage, I'm no longer in love with you, and that's why I don't want to be with you anymore, it's like, ask yourself questions. Do you still love that person? What's happening in the relationship, the environment that would have created you falling out of love? Is it stress? Is it outside influences? Did you find a shiny new toy that you want to play with and you're in lust? Is it a soul connection or is it in lust, aka in love? And so this is where spiritually, hypnotherapy is a good idea, or Akashic readings, or sitting in your meditation, journaling and going, am I in lust with this person that I'm calling in love? And is it a shiny new toy? And is it fun? Or is this a deep soul connection? And that, my friend, is an unraveling that's going to take some time. It's going to take some time. And being attracted to someone isn't always a sign from the universe to go jump in bed. Sometimes the attraction is a reverberation from past lives where there was unrequited love or betrayed love, or simply that there was a loss in the love, and you've been brought together in this incarnation to work it out. Sometimes, yes, they're supposed to be your lovers. Sometimes, no, they're not supposed to be. And those two choices have to be made with a little bit of time and massive spiritual excavation. Or else you're going to have a list of fucking people whose, karmic, debris is going to fall all over you. And you're going to, it's a very sticky substance that's going to stick on you and you won't be aware of it. And over time, you'll have all kinds of people's karma clogging up. That's going to stick on you and you won't be aware of it. And over time, you'll have all kinds of people's karma clogging up your chakra. Take your time. You know what I mean? It's important to take your time. Let me see if there's in all things, but certainly curiosity and going out there and trying things out and things of that nature is going to be, it is a sign of intelligence, curiosity, exploration, You can't be bothered with what people think. I don't care if it's your parents. I don't care if it's your boyfriend, husband, girlfriend. I don't give a shit. I had a friend of mine whose new soon-to-be ex-girlfriend said to him, "Why can't you be like Elon Musk?" You know, meaning success and money and success. And she's lucky I wasn't her boyfriend, because I would have said, "Why can't you be like Raquel Welch at the age of 18 when she had a hot body?" It's to compare other people to other people. You must demand from your beloved that you are enough. Can you improve who you are for yourself? Yes. We can always improve ourselves. But to compare another person's bank account, their physical looks, or whatever, is a sign that it's time to say goodbye. Because triangulation of any kind is not okay. But also you have to be honest with yourself. And there are a lot of women and men that keep aspiring to different people. And one of the greatest advice I got is, if you want an XYZ type of man or woman, ask yourself, are you the kind of woman or man that XYZ would want? In other words, become a match to that frequency. But there are a lot of arrogant people, including delusional, a lot of delusional men in their 40s and 50s, and they're delusional. You know, they want, a woman who is a certain age, that or young, or a certain age where she's in shape, she's done all the work and this and that, and it fucking takes money and time. And so that's why you have so many lonely men. And women are resourceful in that they know how to build community. They might have 3 girlfriends, best girlfriends. They might have a slew of like 10 people that give them certain things, but they know how to build community. Sex in the City was a good example of that. For example, they were all hung out, they all did things. They were completely different women with completely different aspirations in romance, in sex, in love, in career, so forth. But they were bonded. And men, it's a rare thing when you see men like it would be interesting to see men like Sex in the City, like that kind of bonding energy. Are they out there, men like that? Yeah. But I don't think they're as candid and brutally honest, nor do they call each other out on their bullshit. If you notice, when in Sex in the City, when they would fuck up, they would call each other out on the fuckery. And I don't see men doing that as much. That's the problem. They're always about, it's none of my business. And this is why women have been asking men to call men out who are exploiting young girls, ogling, catcalling, young girl. I mean, that could be your sister, your daughter, your this, your that. And that's why we're asking good men to step up and say, hey, what are you fucking doing, man? Because we need the male voice to train other men who are toxic not to be toxic. For example, similarly, that's what we need to do with women. Because there are a lot of skanky chicks out there that have no problems. In fact, they want a married man. In fact, they pursue married men. And when I mean pursue, I mean pursue. You see, I've been doing psychic work for a massive company for years before I got my own, business. And I would listen to some of these women talk about pursuing men who were married, committed, happily committed, in love, just as a flex. So we're not innocent as women either, okay? We're not fucking walking on water as a collective whole, unfortunately. Though, I have to say that many of my personal clients that I choose to say, yeah, let's work together. I'm so excited to meet you, this and that, and those kind. I choose them for their integrity, their high energy, their devotion to families, devotion to the collective, devotion to being healers that they are. And I love them. Each and every one are extraordinary women in their own right. And they're amazing. But one of the reasons why I stopped working for like Psychic Source and other companies like that is I couldn't take the bullshit. In fact, I would say to these women, what the fuck are you doing? I'm serious. I would hang up on them. I wouldn't take the call. I did not want, at some point, it hit me hard. I was like, I can't work with people like that. They're fucking ignorant. They're going after perfectly good marriages that were, and you would say, well, it's the man's fault. And I would say, All it takes for a human being to slide into the world of cheating is a bad fight with their partner, and the opportunity, it's like a perfect storm. And that's not to say that the man or woman cheating is not blameless. It's to say there are situations of impulsivity. Because again, I've had men and women come to me crying, going, holy fuck, why did I do that? I love my wife. I love my husband. It was a moment of weakness. I was angry at them. I was confused, and I fucked up. So we as a collective consciousness who are on a higher level of, how do I put it, integrity, have to call out gently with love our brothers and sisters who are not in their integrity. It's that simple. So we are responsible for what the entire collective is experiencing, believe it or not. And acting as if it's none of our business is apathy. That doesn't mean you get into people's faces. It means you gently call them out. In a case of a friend, and to be honest with you, I have no friends that would do that, but let's say I did, I would have to say, what are you doing? Have I come across women who were like that, we were developing a friendship? Yeah, it didn't last. I didn't stay friends. You could say I'm judgmental. I would say to you, I want to be in a frequency match with people who walk beside me, who I walk beside them. It has to be a match. It has to feel right. I don't want to babysit a baby. But I remember the last person who was in my life who was kind of playing games like that with men. I gently, had discussions with her, and it was like talking to the wall. And eventually I let the relationship slide into Neverland. Because I wasn't interested in committing to that. I would prefer committing to people like who really want to understand, who really want to heal themselves and so forth. So being unbothered and being in a place, in a state of authenticity in yourself means that you also realize that you're not going to allow people who make you work hard to the level of so hard that you have to ask yourself if you should continue having a relationship with them. I think the answer, the minute you're questioning your integrity in a relationship, whether it's a friendship, a lover, whatever, then that you've got your answer. You have your answer. And at that point, you need to have a really good, solid, authentic conversation that clarifies, I am having a problem with some of your behaviors or some of your philosophies or some of the ways you approach the world. And that needs to be a conversation that both men are comfortable to have with men and women are comfortable to have with women. And what I see often is that this weird idea of being shy or not able to articulate or not feeling comfortable with confrontation, because it is confronting to tell someone why you can't offer them a friendship, or to say, I could offer you a friendship, but your philosophies and your behaviors make me uncomfortable. And I feel like it's, staining, or it's impacting me in a negative way because I'm leaning towards listening to your stories and I'm being, what's the word I want to say? Influence in my consciousness, and I have to keep my head on my shoulders, and there are things I need to do on a daily, that I have a spiritual practice that I have to do every day. There are things that I want to experience every day, and I'm not interested in pursuing this friendship as long as this continues. I love you. I think you're a great person. I think you're lost, and I don't want to continue this unless you and I can have dialogue about how we can. I want to help you, but if you feel like you're happy and this is your lifestyle, this is what you want to do, then I think we need to end this friendship. And people are not mostly ready to do that. And that shocks me, because right? That who you become is also centered around the 5 closest people in your life. And you know that psychology. People talk about that all the time. Am I correct? So if somebody has behaviors, Here, let me back up. They say that about people with money. They say, if you want to have money, you need to hang out with money. They say that about everything. So if it's money that you want, then you hang out with 5 people that are massively successful, focused, have their own business or what have you, and you hang out with them and you will become them. So how is that different in a spiritual aspect, especially if you're looking to ascend? How can you ascend if you've got people who are in their dark mode of egoic desires to pursue things that are completely out of alignment with you? And you might call it, again, confrontational. Yes, it is. It actually is. And is it wrong to confront something that you don't want in your life? No, but ghosting people is a mark of cowardice. It's best to pick up the fucking phone or to meet them at a cafe and have that very sensitive conversation and still hug them. So I wish you the best. You know, I really think, you know, you have so much in you. And in fact, you know, I'm going to text you a list of books and have a good life. And you walk away. It will make you feel good. It will give you a sense of clarity. It will give them a sense of clarity. You've planted seeds that may not, you know, bloom for 10 more years. Maybe one day they'll have a moment of dark night of the soul and they'll remember that conversation. It'll come back to them like a flash. And that's how you help people. Sometimes you confront what is not a match to you. And in the end, that's how you help people. Does that make sense? Does anybody have any opinions on that? And I talked about it in one of my lives like about a year ago, where I had somebody who called me, or texted me actually, and said blah, 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 blah. And they had fucked up. You know, I don't let people shit on me twice. Once is enough usually for me, typically. Unless, you know, whatever. Anyway, but unless they're a family member or a twin. Okay, let's put it that way. And I have to really connect with my family member. Okay, moving on. But this was not the case. And I told her in a text, I can't offer you friendship because of this. And she said, you're still mad. And I went, no, I'm not actually, no, I'm not mad. I don't let people shit on me twice. It's that simple. And I wish you the best. And I hope everything good comes to you. And I genuinely meant it. I mean, and she knew it. And she said, you know, thank you for not ghosting me and responding to my text. That was a learning lesson. And I said, aho. Meaning, you know, on your way, be well. And that was that. You don't force yourself to have relationships with people who are not aligned with where you want to go, where you want to be right now and where you want to go. And that is you confronting your fears of confrontation and you realizing that in a sense, it's not so much confrontation as you are actually helping them. Because you see, if you ghosted them, you're one of maybe 5 or 6 people who have, and they have no idea what they're doing wrong. And they might actually deny in themselves, gaslight themselves that they're fucking up. And you could be the light of clarity that gives them, you know, reasons why it can't work. And you're not going to cater to that kind of energy. You just won't cater to it. You just don't, frankly, you don't have the time. So in 2025, make it part of your pact to yourself to speak the truth with diplomacy, because we're not here to beat people up, but with clarity, you know, and learn how to speak like that. Clear, upfront, no bullshit, but with compassion. With as much compassion as you can muster, and be genuine in wishing them the best. Like feel it in your heart, like really feel it in your heart. Because it's a moment that's sad. It's a sad moment because they can't be part of your life anymore. It's heartbreaking, honestly, because it would be nice, right? Because it was something that when you first met them that attracted you to them. I have a friend, I've talked about it many times. She's the one that had the throat cancer, who I've known for like over 30 years. And we love each other because we're part of the same soul tribe. But I don't have conversations to that level anymore with her. And I would never say, with her, she's family. Do you understand? She's soul family. But I speak to her maybe at most 5 times a year. At most. And the conversations don't last very long. Because she's gone on a completely different path. And some of it is riddled with bitterness. And it's not her fault. She's had a very, 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 very difficult life. But she has the heart of gold. And I don't think I can give her the knowledge that I've, gathered in my journey. But this is one relationship I would never say, we don't even live. We live 3,000 miles away from each other, so it's not even a problem. But she is an amazing soul. It's just the conversation. And maybe at some point the conversations will come up again to meet in the middle where we're having the same vibration and we you know what I mean? It's flowing. But she's always been loving. We've had fights. We've gone no contact sometimes. I kid you not. But ultimately we grew up, and now we would never do that to each other. We're very loyal to each other. Like if she needed a place to stay, my doors are open. I don't care what part of the world I'm in. So there are people like that you want to more or less honor them. But your basic friend on the street, a pedestrian person that you just don't feel aligned to, maybe it was a moment of conversation based on one thing that you were aligned on, and then as you progress in the relationship you're starting to realize some toxic shit that you really can't, you really don't want around you. You got to have those conversations, and I think it's good for you. Actually, it's good because it shows how it shows that you're learning how to advocate for yourself. Hang on, let me read what you're saying, Jennifer, from the beginning. Okay, good evening. And Jennifer says, she didn't support my lifestyle and I knew she was gossiping about me because I was different. Yeah, when you have people, you can tell when somebody's talking shit about you. You can feel the vibration. It's small-minded. Like right now, I'm feeling like there's an influencer that was talking shit about twin flames, and not in a bad way, just in a basic saying, I just don't believe in twin flames anymore because of, and I did a whole live that ranted, I did a rant and rave on that, which you can see on my YouTube channel. But her little monkeys are like doubling down. And I'm like, we're done, blocked. Fuck, I don't give a shit. Like, enjoy your life. Who gives a fuck? But when you have over 200,000 people following you, which I began my live on that, you have to be responsible for what you say. You have to be responsible. Have I fucked up on some of my lives? Yes. Yes, I have. Did it come from what I thought was 100% true? Yes. Was I wrong? Yes, I was. And you repair it. You don't double down on it. So I try to be diplomatic sometimes, not always, but I also don't like to be disrespected either, So I've been hard. I've been known to be hard on my lives. When people go, is Joey going to come and marry me? And I'm like, and by the way, and I'm talking about star seeds and ascension and the 1%. And I'm like, read the fucking room. I've actually said that to people on a live. Read the fucking room. Are you kidding me? Like, really? That's rude. It's like breaking into a conversation. Somebody's talking about Uncle Bob died and he came on my dreams, and you're asking about, so gas prices, it's like fucking random. You would never do that. And there are people out here that don't have any sense of appropriateness. We're not talking about sitting at a fine dining restaurant and not knowing which fork to use, okay? We're talking about just basic understanding of what is appropriate and when. Meaning, read the room. What is the room saying? What are they talking about? And so in moments of frustration, because I'm like looking down, looking for a good question that I could actually answer that could benefit. I'm getting somebody asking that. When, a proper reading is a proper reading, meaning, And so I do tarot readings and this and that, absolutely, privately. And every once in a while, which I just uploaded last night, I'll do collective readings. And I'm still not going to answer, is Joe going to come and ask me to marry him? I'm still not going to answer that question. At that point, no. Because in my opinion, I'm not focusing on you. I'm focusing on the collective. And I'm getting downloads for the benefit of an entire group of people on a live, and hopefully in the recording later on. The people who are attracted to an energy will click on it, and it will be their reading, just like it's yours if I do a reading while you're there. And I make sure that we flow with the information so that you don't take it too much to heart, because after all, it's a collective reading. And a collective reading is not like a one-on-one where a person hears your voice, they know your name, they know your date of birth, they're like doing the numerology, or at least I do, that's what I do. And then we have a flow and downloads start happening. But to think that you can have readings on the internet, like I know. There's a very, 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 very successful guy who... I think he has like, I don't know, something like 3.5 million followers on YouTube. He's got curly hair. He lives in Nevada. And he does collective fucking readings. and he's really irreverent and funny. And he'll call people out if they're being rude or overstepping. He's really funny. He's a completely cute guy. And but I've never seen him answer a question on cheating, on pregnancy, ever. Because us who know in the spiritual community, we know you don't do that shit. You don't tell people if they're going to get pregnant. You tell them, is their soul coming in? And sometimes the soul will come in and at the last minute decide this is not the time. And they'll wait another year or two. Sometimes the soul might decide, I don't want to be in your womb. I want to be in another womb. I want to actually experience being adopted. And you will find me. You will find me. Like Angelina Jolie went to, what was it, Vietnam or somewhere? I forgot where it was. And she met this little boy called Maddox. She was with this Billy Bob Thornton bimbo dude. And he was like basically saying to her, it's me or this kid. And she went, bye. Don't let the door hit you on the ass. Because there was a soul bond. It was a divine appointment. So souls that are born, do you understand? You don't ask, am I going to get pregnant? The question is there a soul that wants you to be their mother or father? That's the question. And as to when, well, we know time is not linear, so we can't really define when. Oh, on Tuesday, on 2017, you'll have a baby. It doesn't even make sense. It actually doesn't. And what happens when people go, well, no, she really did tell me it was on a Tuesday, I'd have a baby, blah, blah, blah. Well, sometimes it's because you believe it so well that, and by the way, it's written in the Akashic that there's a couple possibilities that's going to happen, and you choose that one, and then you manifest it because you believed it. I remember I was talking to a client yesterday about Sylvia Brown. I don't know if you remember Sylvia Brown. She was a very famous psychic, and she was on the Montel Williams show when she said, your person has died. She stepped in massive dog shit because the person had not died. She was completely mistaken. She had egg on her face because you can't always do that. And sometimes I question people who do crowd readings because I'm not sure if there's prepping done ahead of time. I'm being really real with you here. Because no one is infallible. No one. And the way you can actually mitigate that is by connecting with the client and going, what are your feelings on this? What do you feel? And then I do the heart coherence test, and sometimes they either feel what I feel or they don't. And then based on that, I go, okay, so hold that energy. Let me do another reading. And then I'll do another reading. And then it will either confirm or neutral. There's no fucking answer. Sometimes there's no answer. That is the reality of psychic energies. So Sylvia Brown fucked up. She was an excellent psychic. My mother hired her And I'm going to tell you this story. So Sylvia Brown, this was in the 80s, told my mother, you will meet a man, he will have gray salt and pepper hair, he'll be handsome, he'll be a multimillionaire. She went, how's that going to happen? I don't even date and I'm not interested. Well, unbeknownst to her, my brother at the age of 18 wrote a letter in the personals. This was in the 80s before, apps and dating apps and all that shit. And wrote as her son, he didn't pose like her, he as her son said, this is my mother, this is what happened, she's a widow, blah, blah, blah. And this man read the ad because he was looking for a companion. And he went, my God, what kind of woman would raise such a beautiful son? I got to meet this woman. Guess what he was? He had salt and pepper hair. He was handsome and he was a multimillionaire. Now, in the Sylvia Brown reading, it was saying, you will marry him, you will be rich, you will never have to worry. And she fucked it up. Free will. And I won't tell you why or how because it doesn't matter. That's not the point of the story. The point is, Sylvia Brown was this good psychic. Everything she said, boom. But psychics can't control where you're going to take that information. You can fuck it up or you can make it happen. It is one of multiple paths in the Akashic records. But we need to hear your voice and we need to focus on you, or else we're going to pick up on energies. If there's a crowd of people around, this is why when you go into a psychic room, have you ever noticed the door is closed? They close the fucking door, or it's behind a curtain, or it's in a tent, but it's closed. In some way, it's closing off the energies of other people. This is important. And so the more you protect the space between you and the client, the more likely you're going to get the information that you need for the client. And one of the things that I don't see people do enough, is you sage yourself, you sage the room, you open the four corners above and below, and you sage the card after every client, and sometimes after every question. I have a candle burning, I've got sage and abalone with palace, and I'm constantly saging the cards in between the questions to clear the energy, I don't see that being done enough. Because if I did a reading with Joe Schmo, and I do nothing at all with saging, the cards still have the energy of Joe Schmo. And then I get another call and I do another reading. And now it's Michelle Schmo. And it's going to be a completely fucked up reading because I did not clean the cards. People who know. There are preparations you have to make, or else you can get corrupted downloads, the wrong things. And also, we can never discount the free will of someone who's hell-bent on fucking sabotaging happiness. They're out there. It's the weirdest, you would think the opposite, but believe it or not, it's more common than you can imagine. Well, I mean, this is why some of you are in twin flame relationships where you're the chaser and they're the runner. The person has dreamed their entire life of this divine ultimate love, and now they have it, and now they're running. So if that doesn't illustrate people's self-sabotage happiness, I don't know what does. And it's always about self-loathing. I'm not good enough. Once they find out what I really am, they'll hate me and they'll leave me. I'm not ready. They can do better than me. There's all these things happening. It's a real problem. Anyway, hopefully... I saw you, but I can't even pronounce it. Hang on, let me say yes. I saw a live like this yesterday. She answered yes, no to serious questions. Yeah, and I don't cater to that shit. If that's what you want in readings, and my son's been reading for 4 years. I'm seeing people for 4 fucking years. He's been doing readings, and I'm seeing people crack open tarot cards and set up, tarot readings, and will crack open tarot cards and set up, tarot readings, and they don't know shit about how to read. And I know that. I know for a fact they don't know how to read. But they're cracking it. They figure, that's, the sun means this and the moon means that, and it's a lot more than that. You have to download. You have to. And tarot cards are a conduit. You are filtering from the Akashic. It's going through you. You're seeing images. Well, I see images. I hear and I feel. And the cards are like a final pictogram. of images and symbolisms, and they light up. It's like they light up, and they'll, one card will light up above the other, and I'll realize, okay, that's okay. I need to pay attention to what that's saying and what it means, and it's fast. It's it's all these downloads that are going a mile a minute. It's like 120 miles an hour. It's insane, and people have to understand that you got to be careful when you read to a mass public, especially when you don't hear their voice and you don't even have their fucking real name for one. A planet 102 Andromeda. Okay, well, that's not your name. That's not your name, and you can't even hear their voice. And voice carries a vibration, a frequency that also helps with the downloads. But I'm not saying don't enjoy those things. Don't enjoy those lives. Like, enjoy the lives. They're fun. Don't get me wrong. And sometimes they're quite accurate, sometimes. But sometimes I don't think they are. I really don't. Will I get pregnant? Yes. That's it? Yes? Based on what? How did you come to a yes? So if you like somebody, and a lot of these psychics, tarot readers that are live, they're doing it to promote their business, to get clients to come in for a serious reading ultimately, which is exactly how you should see it. You like their style, you like how they explain, you like how they read, fantastic, then hire them. People hire me because they like the style of how I read, how I do it. That's why here and there I'll do collective readings, but I'm very clear that they're collective. And typically I don't even know what I'm going to ask until I'm guided and I'm shuffling the cards and I'm like, oh yeah, let's talk about that. Okay, it's going to be about this. We're going to talk about this. Yesterday we did a collective reading on, is the divine masculine that's afraid of or aware of their pain on a healing journey going to do and successfully do what they need to heal? That was the question. And I have uploaded on YouTube if you want to check it out. There's the answers. And it took a while. It was a collective. And then we did the same question for the divine feminine. Is she going to be successful? It was interesting. We were definitely, thank you, focused on, would there be a union? And if I recall, it looked good. If I recall, it looked good. I think it looked good, if I recall. I did a reading with a client yesterday on her numerology, and then we did we were working with the cards on her numbers on 2025, on what she needed to look forward to in 2025. And it was interesting. The cards were all over the place about travel. And so we started talking about, I said, actually we talked about her traveling outside the country. And it was interesting because you could see that she said, well, I've always given everything to my family, to my husband, to my ex-husband, to my job, to this, to that, to my, raise my kids, blah, blah, blah. And it was interesting because we talked about the psychology of mothers, single mothers, career mothers, married mothers, whatever, right? Who are they've been brainwashed. She's around my age, shy by maybe, 8 years. But anyway, how we were brainwashed by, not by on purpose, by the way, okay, by the environment, by the situation, to literally shut down our desires, like switches, off buttons on all of our desires. Because to give everything to everyone in the family, we could not have our own desires. So when I asked her, what would you like to experience? She did not know. So part of the reading I did for her last night was to excavate, what is it you've forgotten? How do we get you to remember? How do we turn the off switches back to on now that you no longer have children to worry about? They're all grown. And that was what we did yesterday. And then she said, I really, can we extend? I'm like, yeah, sure. She said, can I find out if this guy's my twin? And sure enough. But I said to her, but you need to travel first. There are things you need to do. And so we talked about her countries, like what countries. And we talked about certain countries. And she wasn't sure. So we had to go back into what was she curious? Fuck the countries. What was she curious about? What past lives that would make, like what country, what past life, what experience, what knowledge did she want to gain? And the buttons have been so switched off that this took some time. And eventually, by the end of our session, she was fucking excited. Like she had a plan, she had homework, because I give homework. She had all kinds of shit she needed to do. But she was pumped. Because now she realized that some of the things, imagine not knowing you want something, but you don't even know how to articulate it to yourself. That's more common than you think. Because from the very onset of her beginnings on this planet and other incarnations, she was told not to do certain things. And it was interesting too, because the way, she was a volunteer, like a lot of us are volunteers, but it was like she didn't have to come here. Let me put it that way, at all. Like she had to take on karma. Some of us volunteered knowing we got shit to do, karma to heal, shit like that. And we didn't have to come on this cycle. We could have waited another 200-300 years, but we did it anyway. We thought, yes, I want to walk into the shit show of the 21st century. Yes, I want to be born. Okay, so for some of us, that was the truth. For some, they could have waited until it was a 5D planet. Believe it or not, she was one of them. And one of the things that she went through, which was really exciting, is that she had gone through her ascension, believe it or not, as a Catholic nun. Yes. But she also understood that a lot of the rhetoric was bullshit, but she never expressed it. She just did her own thing with God. Let's just put it that way. But being a nun gave her the ability to be celibate, because that's what she wanted to do, and to also really concentrate on her connection with God in her own way. She was under the umbrella of Catholicism, yes, but she did her own thing. I think there was a composer, nun, Mother Superior called Hildegard that was similar in that way. By the way, I'm not saying she was Hildegard, but I'm saying similar to that, if you get my drift. Similar to that. And so she, in a sense, had ascended. In a big sense, meaning she had to take on karma, like literally, like weigh herself down to come here. And why did she do that? Because now she had to ascend as a mother in the material world, because she had avoided that being a nun. In the material world, with sexuality being a part of that, being in a divine union with a man, in her case. And she needed to now ascend from a place where there was chaos. Because that, in her mind, would really be valuable. It would mean that she would overcome things that when she was a nun, she didn't have to overcome. She didn't have to overcome jack shit, really. It was like, you got your meals, you got your little bedroom, you got your cot, you want to fast, great. You don't want to fast, you got food. You can connect with nature and the animals, and you can pray all day long. You don't have to worry, you don't have to pay to live, you don't have to pay your bills, you don't have to deal with a man, deal with children, you don't have to deal with shit, you're good. So it was easy for her, and she knew it. As a spirit soul, she knew it, if that makes sense. It was a fascinating reading. I was like in awe. Fascinating woman. Humble, sweet, joyous, and finally excited. We turned on the switches. We boom, 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 and went, okay, let's go. And so that's it. She's launched. But the psychology of women, this is what men don't understand. When women give up, when they prioritize the children, the husband, the marriage, or the lover, the woman, their wife, and they prioritize the job, making sure the home is straight, everything's straight, she has to switch off her passions, which switches off her root chakra, which makes her almost asexual. Because where comes creativity, passion, desire to create something? It doesn't have to be sex. It comes from the root chakra. And to survive the abysmal day-to-day grind of making everyone else a priority but yourself as a woman, yeah, you got to switch all those buttons off. That's why women in their 40s and 50s go through a glow-up, a divorce, the children are gone, and they suddenly hit the gym, meditating, yoga, whatever, plastic surgery, buying clothes, learning makeup, like they're rediscovering themselves. It's almost like a rite of passage of rediscovering their Shakti energy. It doesn't mean they're going to take a lover at all. Some of them won't. They'll go, fuck that. I don't want that. I'm enjoying myself. I'm finally figuring out who the fuck I really am. And I'm realizing what I really, really hunger for. It's fantastic. So her homework, one of the movies I told her to watch, one of them was Shirley Valentine, made in the late 70s. Shirley Valentine. And it's a very British movie. It might be slow for you, but the essence of it is fantastic. If you have patience, you'll see what it's about. And this is one of the things that's interesting about women in their 40s, 100, 200, 300 years ago, when women would wake up out of the sleep, the comatose of taking care of everyone else but himself, is they would send us to nunneries. They would send us to little hospitals with the white coats. You should study this shit. This is what they did for many of us. Because the minute we woke up, there was a rage that grew, a rage of what the fuck was, my God, where's my whole life was for what? That was in those days, like 200-300 years ago and beyond. In this age, in our age, there's no rage. It's not rage. It's more like, well, now that they're all gone, what do I do now? It's more like a melancholy. Like, where do I go now? What do I really want? I don't even know what the fuck I want. And the act of knowing what you want, the act of pursuing your desires, your passions, your creative efforts are massively important, not just for yourself, but for the collective healing of the sacred feminine and the sacred masculine. Trust me on that. And so the root chakra isn't about sex. For some, it will be. There's a healing aspect. I had a client yesterday where I did an Akashic reading, and we talked about the root chakra and sexuality. And in his case, yes, it was. Because in this case, it would open him up to himself, giving himself back his sacredness that had been stolen when he was a child. So there was a process. I'm pretty transparent and clear in my instructions when I talk to a client about trauma in the root chakra. And I've been a sex advocate for a long time. And the reason I give instructions is because that person needs to regain their power. Because when the root chakra is blocked from shame, abuse, so on and so forth, they can't create. It's not about being sexually active. It's about opening that chakra so it belongs to you and only you. And you share it with your most beloved. It's very interesting. These little... And every human being is so different. It's so different. So you've heard about remote healing? Well, it's remote abuse that still keeps giving when you allow your chakra to be shut down by people that they haven't been in your life for a long time. They're still remotely abusing you. And that should piss you off enough to actually seek healing. I hope that makes sense. So let me see. I once read, men leave when they find another woman. Women leave when they find themselves. Beautiful line. Beautiful line. That reading must have been so liberating for her. It was fun. We were both giggling. And thank God she was recording it. Thank God. I said, you need to listen to this again and again and again and again until you you know what I mean? It's really important. I live for this shit. It's what I was born to do. What I do for clients today, it took me decades to get to this place. Decades of living the grind, living a luxurious life. The contrast of luxury and money and that world that I was in my first 21 years of life, right? Very important. Because then when I went into the world, another reality, okay, of working 9 to 5, of working the grind, of working in the machine, right? The what I call the meat grinder, right? Hamburger grinder. They grind us up like meat. And seeing and looking around people who at the time were twice my age and how they were being fucked over by corporations and things like that. Pregnant women losing their jobs in the 80s because they were pregnant for the sole reason that they were pregnant. How could I become a spiritualist that only reads tarot? Yes, no, yes, you'll be pregnant. No, I had to become a spiritualist who understood the injustice of the system that corrupted the ability for us to ascend. And then I had a passion for ancient history, passion. And so I had studied ancient history for a long time. And because I had a passion for Atlantis, see, what you have an interest is a sign that you were there. Let me say it again. What is interesting to you, country, books, subjects of books, is an alignment of where you once lived or experienced, if that makes sense, right? So because I was a voracious reader, I mean, I would read 4 or 5 books at a time per week, okay? And sometimes I would read and pick on and go, wait, hang on, what were... really a moment of confusion, of the plot or the story, or in this case, wait, hang on, let me look at the cover. Oh, yeah, we're on this. Okay, let me go back into... And then I continue reading, right? But my mind loved that. I needed the... gymnastics of jumping from one thought to another, to another, to another, or else I'd get bored. I rarely read books linearly unless I'm insanely obsessed with the book. At which point, I'll read the book, it ends, and I go right back and I read it again. Obsessed. So, reading for me was not to escape anything. It was to discover questions I didn't even know yet to ask. So, and I absolutely adore audibles, audiobooks, adore. And it's funny too, because in a way, my grandmother, influenced me because she had lost her sight. By the time she was 80, she couldn't read anymore, in the way one likes to read. So she had cassette tapes of fucking books on cassettes. And in my book, Recall, I talk about me listening to Lady Chatterley's Lover on a day it's really raining and blowing rain and wind and this and that. And I talk about, well, it actually happened with me and the father of my son. We actually laid up in bed all day long listening to Lady Chatterley's Lover by Damn Judi Dench. And it was delicious. Absolutely fantastic experience. And when I ended up with my twin, him and I would listen to audiobooks all the fucking time, usually esoteric books, obviously, but he would suddenly say, yeah, put it on hold. Hang on. What do you think of that? What do you think? Hang on, rewind it. And we rewind it and listen to it again. And we would discuss these books. It would talk about pillow talk. I mean, they were fucking amazing conversations. And so for me, there's these incredible books written by brilliant minds that can actually answer so many of your questions, and that can actually answer questions you didn't even know what to ask, which would now catapult you into other questions, obviously. And then eventually you go into steps of self-realization. And some books, like I'm reading, like I said, David Icke's Dreams, some shit's not resonating with me, but I'm continuing because what he says about reality is right on the mark. I'd love to talk to him because there's some things I definitely don't agree with at all. However, it'd be interesting to see how he would rebut my rebuttals, not out of a competition, but as a something of co-creating something new out of it. Maybe he's set on what he's decided, but it would be interesting to see how he would throw me off my rebuttals, just to see, for me personally, more clarity. Maybe more clarity in my rebuttals, or maybe aligning with his thoughts. I would be fascinated by that with him, right? But with, for example, when I read Freddie Silva, there's nothing to rebut. It's at all. It's just massive, fantastic information. When I read Graham Hancock, I can't rebut anything. It's brilliant shit. I can't. And I'm not saying David Icke's not brilliant. I'm saying, and he certainly he's always sharing his sources, always. And his sources are very scientific. He'll actually quote scientists. So he's not talking out of his ass. He's not some quote unquote conspiracy theorist the way he's been maligned by many people who don't take him seriously. And yet he is a massive influence in many of the spiritual conspirators, theorists or whatever you want to call it. But I think, again, I tell you, like, for example, I was watching, and I've said this before in my life, I was watching Teal Swan being interviewed by Regina Meredith. I didn't like her documentary at all. Her interview was way better. And she was talking about MK Ultra and shit done to her with different DURGS and different things to brainwash her and blah, blah, blah. And if I'm correct, she ran away from home at around, I think she was a 15-year-old girl when she ran. I never really liked her. I always felt like she was reptilian. My opinion of that hasn't changed, but I can still bow down to her in respect to her brilliance and her courageous tenacity to rewire her brain from what the level of abuse that will blow your mind to becoming who she is today. You cannot take that away from her, in my opinion. Would I ever come to one of her talks? No. Will I ever go out there and buy one of her books and believe? No. It doesn't remove the fact that I respect her. I respect what she's done in her own personal life. I think some of her talks that she has are brilliant, but there's an energy that isn't quite, I don't want to be around that energy. Maybe because I pick up on the trauma is still trailing behind her like a wedding veil. She's still married to it in some aspect, but she's been able to overcome it in ways that people who have had less trauma still can't overcome it. You know what I mean? They're still being controlled by it. And somehow she's been able to create something of a life that is in service to other people. I mean, you can't put that down, man, no matter what people think, you know? But if I were to spend money on anything, right, it would be to go on one of Dr. Joe Dispenza's retreats, for example. It would be to go on a Freddie Silva trip to Egypt or to Peru or to wherever. That's my nectar. That's what I would want to do if I had, that kind of ability to just drop massive money. A Freddie Silva jaunt into Egypt is like, at the last time I heard, it was 15 grand for one person, and he has a waiting list now. When I was first, getting into it, me and my son were approved. I was thinking something was going to come through, and it didn't, so we couldn't do it because I wanted to do it for my son's birthday, but it didn't happen. But so it was a $30,000 trip. Now, good luck in getting on the list. Good luck. It's almost, I think it's a lottery now to get on his trips. That's how popular he is. And he has small groups, very, very tiny groups. Would I go with Matthias Di Stefano? No, actually not. And I don't know why. But I would not. And maybe that might change in a year or two. I don't know, but I would not. That's not what gets me going. So, that doesn't mean that people like that don't have massive wisdom to share. It's just that there's certain people like, I've been talking to Andromeda Flame for a while now. And finally, I think we're going to be, once we get our classes, and again, my apologies on the altar class. I've got to finish it up. I had an accident where I wasn't able to use my right hand, my right arm, and I'm all good, whatever. But that's really what happened. And so the delay, but once the altar class is up and running, we'll have other classes. But one of the things we do want to do is offer retreats, traveling retreats. And these traveling retreats would be to portals, power sites that are definitely aligned with the feminine goddess energy. And why? Because most of the people that follow me are women, and I'm a woman. So obviously I'm going to be interested in ancient portals and sites that cater to the feminine energy. Why? Well, because whenever I was a woman, I was oppressed in some way. And when I was a man, sadly, I was oppressing women. So for me to heal that within myself and for the collective masculines who now are in the masculine energy of that gender, and to also empower the feminine who are now, embodying in their feminine incarnations, it's something that I'm I think would be fascinating for us as a small group of women to, it's almost like a pilgrimage, if you will, of forgotten energies and power centers and things of that nature. I think it would be fascinating. So, and of course, we'd have guided meditations and talks and beautiful vegetarian cooking and things of that nature, and maybe some wine, I don't know, or maybe some pot, I don't know, or maybe nothing, just water and joy and kombucha, I don't know, but definitely vegetarian, just warning you ahead of time. So I've been looking for a good retreat, can't wait. I know, I've been looking, it's the energy. I had a tour guide once that completely captivated me in his stories. I bet, especially in that part of the world where you tend to go to, Jennifer, that would have been really cool. So this live is kind of an interesting one because it started with the whole point of it was being unbothered by your choices and by your passions. And also, it's very important for those of you who have done the status quo of what everyone relied you to be and do for them, in service to them, because you love them, and then doing a 180 to now rediscover your true, authentic self without them influencing, right, your moves, right? And then the idea of shocking the shit out of them, right? And them going, Mom, whoa, or Dad, what are you doing? Or you being the daughter or son, the adult daughter or son, or whatever, however it plays out. You can't be bothered. You cannot be. In fact, in action of being authentic, you actually showed them how you can have one lifestyle that is in service to the family unit, and how you can do a 180 and then rediscover yourself and parts of yourself that you did switch off for the very reason that you needed to survive. Because if you had been hungered and haunted by the desire to travel or to do your art or write your books or all of that, and those buttons were switched on, and you were mothering and wifing it up and handling all your business, you would have been in a massive depression. You could have had a nervous breakdown. You would have maybe abandoned your family. It's serious shit. It's serious shit. So in a sense, there was a mercy in you being put to sleep, okay, to do what you needed to do. And so when you rise out of the ashes, right, as a phoenix, then in fact, buy a phoenix to remind you what you're supposed to do on a necklace, on the wall hanging. I don't give a shit, however. And to remind you that you're reinventing yourself spiritually. And spiritually, creatively, actively, and it would show itself, it will show itself in the outer world, and it will impact like frequency, vibrational waves impacting the outside world and all those who surround you, all of those who are part of your immediate group. And that's a good thing. And so you can't be bothered with people feeling like you've changed. You fucking ain't right. You better change. You better change. Rather, the word transform is more appropriate. And I love that line from Elena Fairchilds in her book, in the Oracle of Kali. She says, what once tempted the caterpillar no longer tempts the butterfly. I think that's a great line. I'm paraphrasing it very poorly, but you get the essence. It's supposed to happen as it's happening. Those of you who are older, you've done your duty, and now it's time to switch on those lights. Those of you who are young and exploring yourselves, you don't buy the first pair of shoes. That's one size too small. You try everything until something goes, holy fuck, yes, I found it. It should feel like that, or else it's not for you. And you can't know if it's not for you unless you explore it and you test it out and you drop it, or you cling to it and go, yes, I'm aligned to that. This is it. And you will be judged for all of the things I just described. You will be judged by weak-minded, fear-filled people who want you to stay in the status quo of what they knew you for. And that's not going to work if you're ascending. All right, my loves, let me read your comments. I love this. Let me see. I almost got a phoenix tattoo after my divorce. It was such a representation of the transformation. Absolutely beautiful. I am so happy you guys were here. Thank you all. You're always the same. You're always the same crew for the most part. I want to thank you so much for making 2024 a hell of a ride. And I hope that in 2025 I can give you more things that I'm learning, more books to read. There are more books to read. I have so many books that we can read together, and hopefully this will help. And we are going to start graduating to the 12 chakras now. I'll probably be working on a guided meditation on that. And just give me time. I got to finish the altar class. Also, what else did I want to tell you? Yes, follow me on YouTube. If you're not following me on YouTube, I will be using a VPN to continue TikTok. I really don't give a fuck. They can say what they want all day long, but that's what I'm doing. What are you doing? What are you going to do to continue your ability to dialogue with people that you are now following? I've canceled my account on Lemon 8. I'm not going to play. I'm not 12. And it's a 12-year-old type of account. And I'll tell you why. All videos can't be more than a minute. And I'm like, oh, fuck no. And I totally deleted the account, just so you know. So don't follow me there because I'm gone. So YouTube is going to be the thing for me. Spread the word if you can. Follow me on YouTube. This will be uploaded for you. I upload a lot of my lives. And once, and I will continue. Fuck it. I don't give a shit. If it gets kind of weird because the updates of the software can't grab, it was one of the reasons why I was hell-bent on also moving to Europe. But it feels as if the universe is asking me to do a couple things on the land that I live on. So I trust, I surrender, I understand, or I might not know why, but I understand that there's something I'm being asked to do. And it's been quite of an interesting few weeks, let me just say. Very interesting. One of the things that launched me into a deeper surrender was saving the dog, Anaga Mary, the Great Pyrenees. Many of you donated, many of you were supporting. You're seeing me actually repost on dogs that need help. I'm not going to become Brigitte Bardot, but I do understand that all sentient beings have a right to live and a right to be loved, and we don't have enough laws that prevent that. Meanwhile, people who can harm animals will definitely harm babies. A nurse, I don't know why they're telling me to say that, but apparently I'm being guided. This nurse just got arrested for breaking the bones of little African-American babies. What was she doing with animals? This is a real concern. Every serial, you know what, had a history as a child of harming animals. So we have a lot of work to do, my friends. We need to make sure that every sentient being in fur, fin, or feather, and skin, two-legged, four-legged, are protected from the narcissistic, psychopathic joy that people have of harming them. And everything matters. Every fucking thing matters. How we eat our food. If you're going to be a meat eater, I beg you to go look for a farmer that will do the right way to take it down an animal. I'm not going to try to convince you not to eat meat. But I will try to convince you to go to a farmer, and I'm going to express and I'm going to share with you my son, who said to me, you know, I'm going to tell you how they actually took this cow down. I go, how? Well, when the sun rises, they let the cow just watch the sun, and it's mewing and it's, you know, it's chewing on its curd, whatever. And then they take the, you know what, behind its head, and it's over. No stress, no fear, no transportation, no bullshit. If you're going to eat animals, please make sure that you source it from people who are conscious, like the Native Americans were, like the Druids were, like the ancient tribes that used to actually respect their food source. And all of that matters. Prabhupada said, when terrorism against animal ends, terrorism against humans will end. And I thought it was a good line 10, 20 years ago. But after going down the rabbit hole of sheltered dogs, I went, holy fuck. and shelter cats and breeding machines. And I don't even want to go into the horrors. In just 2 days, I went down the rabbit hole. And though I think all of us know, it's one thing to know or be aware of it, it's another to see it. And that's when it changed me. So I'm hoping that you will start spreading the light of that understanding. When terrorism against animal ends, terrorism against people, human beings, will end. And I think it's true. I really think it's true. I think that there are a lot of people doing things to animals, and then they're released into the world, and God knows what else is going the fuck on. Let's be honest. I had a neighbor who had to butcher 10 chickens. On the 10th, he was like sobbing, going, I can't fucking do this. It does something to a human being to do these things. I just want you to understand that. It does. So try to find a farm. And many of you are in cities. Go in your fucking car and connect with people who grow their own vegetables, who grow their own produce, and ask them, how do you do it? What's your process? How do you process an animal? And then get yourself a freezer and do it right. Go big or go home. Because right now, anything you're getting in the supermarket is absolute garbage. It's filled with cortisol, trauma, fears, grief. Meanwhile, I don't want to get that. I'm going too far in. But just kind of understand that. You want what you put on your plate to be peaceful, not trauma, cortisol filled. Okay? So if you're going to do bone broth, do it your fucking self. It doesn't take anything to fucking throw bones in a pot with thyme, rosemary, onions, and garlic, and carrots and celery. It's a millepois. And the flavor is going to be better than anything you ever bought. I'm just saying, like, be conscious of what you're ingesting. Make sure the energy is clear of anything that could literally create a blockage unknowing to you, or something that fucks you up with your chakras, with your ascension, with your third eye opening. All of that is very important. Why do you think the great sages would fast for 40 days on water? And look at the movement happening on Harold's fasting, which, by the way, he got his account hacked and banned and shit taken down. And look at the movement happening. Be conscious. I'm working on it myself, trust me. But to be a vegetarian is a clear path. If you want to get eggs, get eggs. But go to someone you trust. Go to a farmer. Seriously, make some connections. Get in your car, drive out an hour, connect with someone. Once a month, go in and buy shit. Go in the car, go in the country, go hiking. Make it I'm going to leave you with this. When my twin and I would get water from Saratoga Springs, we'd have like 20, 30 containers. We would drive an hour and 10 minutes to go into Saratoga Springs, into the park, and fill our jugs with water and bring it back. We would do it every 3 weeks. And while we were there, we would go and hike or go to the stables, or he you know what I'm saying? And look at horses, or go and walk in. There was a metaphysical store. I'd go there and hang out. We'd make it a day of it. We'd go to this other park that deals with, there was a metaphysical store. I'd go there and hang out. We'd make it a day of it. We go to this other park that deals with art and artists in residence, and we go hang out there. Start living your life more in line with that kind of way, and it will enrich you in ways that you'll be shocked. Make 2025 a time of discovery and aligning yourself with the old ancient wisdoms that our ancestors enjoyed. And you will thank yourself at the end of this year. And it will become your new normal, and you'll never go back, okay? I hope this helped, and I hope you don't feel judged if you're a mediator. I'm not against you, trust me. I just want you to do it correctly. If you're going to do it, fucking do it correctly, okay? All right, my